Today we're jumping into a really fascinating text called The Architecture of Freedom, Sartre and the Void of Purpose.
It's a heavy one for sure.
It is, and our mission for this deep dive is to explore how realizing that life is, well, completely meaningless is actually the only way to finally take control of it and, actually have some fun.
Yeah, but I mean, it requires a massive shift in how you view your own existence. We're drawing heavily today on the existentialist framework.
Right.
Primarily, we're looking at the ideas championed by Jean-Paul Sartre, but we're also bridging them with some ancient and scientific concepts that completely reframe what it means to be alive.
Which is huge.
It is. And Sartre's foundational premise is actually quite straightforward. Human beings were not built like tools.
How do you mean?
Well, think of a hammer. A hammer is created with a highly specific purpose, right? To drive nails. Its essence, its reason for being is decided before it even exists.
Right. Somebody designed it to do that one thing.
Exactly. But you and I, we exist first. We just show up here and we have no built-in prepackaged purpose at all.
Okay, let's unpack this because it sounds simple, but the implications are just huge.
Oh, they change everything.
Like, if I'm not a hammer, if I wasn't built for a specific job by the universe, then I am completely untethered.
Which means you exist in a state of absolute freedom. You are essentially an empty vessel, meaning you can choose whatever you want to be.
Wow.
But, and this is the catch, that absolute freedom comes with an inescapable anchor, absolute responsibility.
Right, because nobody else is driving the car.
Exactly. If there is no grand design, then whoever you are at this very moment and however you are experiencing your life, well, it's entirely on you. There is no one else at the wheel.
Man, that is a really heavy crown to wear. I mean, it's so much easier to blame the universe or bad luck or, just the way society is set up.
Of course it is. It's human nature.
Yeah. And before we could even begin to talk about how to actually wield that absolute freedom, we kind of have to dismantle the fake purposes we naturally construct to avoid that responsibility in the first place.
We do.
Because, let's face it, we are really, really good at protecting our own egos.
Oh, we are practically hardwired to do it. I mean, to understand the magnitude of the freedom we're talking about, we have to look at the trap that almost every human naturally falls into.
Right. The life cycle trap.
Yeah, it's a highly predictable life cycle. You are born, you go through childhood, and then you enter your youth. And what dominates that period of youth?
A lot of hormones.
Well, yeah. Lust, relentless desire, and crucially, the rapid expansion of the ego. It's a period defined almost entirely by pride.
Yeah, I think of this stage kind of like playing a massive multiplayer video game where you're just like obsessively running around the map, hoarding points.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. And you don't even know what the points are for, really. I mean, it might be money, it might be social status or, followers.
Whatever society tells you is valuable.
Exactly. You just want a higher score than the person standing next to you. It's just this exhausting race to inflate your own importance.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, why do we hoard those points? Because a large ego requires constant validation just to survive.
Right. It needs to be fed.
Right. We build our entire sense of self around being the best or the smartest or the most successful. But the inevitable crash of that treadmill of pride is totally built into the system.
Because you can't win forever.
You can't. The moment you tie your existence to being superior, you create an inherent vulnerability.
Yeah, because there is always someone with a higher score.
Always. There's always someone younger, faster, richer. And when you encounter that person doing it better, the reaction isn't just like a mild disappointment.
No, it burns.
It manifests as visceral jealousy. It leads to depression. The ego is incredibly fragile, and chasing its inflation leaves us chronically exposed to suffering whenever reality doesn't match that inflated self-image.
And even if you do manage to stay at the top of the leaderboard for a while, your controller eventually starts glitching.
Right.
You just can't keep that energy up forever. You get sick, you deal with health issues, you simply watch yourself get older in the mirror.
It's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while your physical and mental stamina are waning, you have to stand by and watch a whole new, younger generation step into the limelight with full energy.
But it's more than just losing the physical limelight, though. The entire landscape shifts beneath your feet.
What do you mean?
Well, the metrics you used to build your ego, they become totally obsolete. The new generation doesn't just play the game better, they're playing an entirely different game.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The world's way of thinking changes completely.
So you're standing there holding all these points you spent decades killing yourself to collect.
Yeah.
And you realize the arcade is just like swapped out all the machines.
Exactly.
The points literally do not matter anymore. And I feel like that realization alone would be enough to cause a total mental collapse for anyone whose identity is entirely wrapped up in that game.
Which brings us directly to the existential panic. As we age and the realization sets in that these ego-driven pursuits are just hollow and temporary, the human mind scrambles for a lifeline.
It's survival mode.
Right. If the points don't matter, we desperately need to invent a reason to justify all the sweat and tears we poured into collecting them. We have to rationalize our existence.
Yeah.
And that is the exact moment we construct what the source calls our made-up purposes.
We need a life raft, so we just grab the closest one available. I mean, I know one of the most common default justifications people use when the limelight fades is family.
Very common, yeah.
You hit a certain age and say, well, I am human. I gave my best for my family and my kids. I was a provider. That was my purpose.
And it sounds incredibly noble, doesn't it? It feels grounded and virtuous.
It really does.
But if we apply Sartre's lens to this, we have to look deeper. We have to recognize that this, too, is a constructed narrative.
Like it's just a story we tell ourselves.
Yes. We form families and dedicate our lives to that specific social structure because, literally from the moment we were born, we absorbed the blueprint of our surrounding.
Right, it's just what everyone else was doing.
We looked around, saw how society was organized, and internalized that structure as a cosmic mandate rather than just a localized social norm.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I want to push back on the idea of destiny here, because I think a lot of people feel deep in their bones that their specific life mission, whether it's their family, their career, their art, was like assigned to them.
It feels very real to them.
Yeah. But let's run a thought experiment. For you listening, imagine you were born into a literal futuristic utopia.
Okay, I like this.
A society where everyone is incredibly equally wealthy. And the very concept of a traditional nuclear family has been completely abolished.
Gone.
Right. Instead, all children are raised collectively in these elite, well-funded academies.
Yeah.
If you were dropped into that world, what on earth would your purpose be?
It definitely wouldn't be providing for your family.
Exactly. It certainly wouldn't be giving your best to provide for your kids, because the concept of a struggling provider wouldn't even compute in that reality.
Your entire internal compass for meaning would just recalibrate to fit your new surroundings. Or, shift the timeline in the other direction.
Like going backward.
Yeah. Imagine you were born in the 5th century BCE in a small agrarian tribe. The modern social causes you champion today, the specific corporate ladder you climb, the intricate family dynamics you navigate, they would be utterly irrelevant.
Totally meaningless.
Right. Your deeply held purpose would be entirely different.
So our life's mission isn't some divine assignment handed down from the clouds. It is literally a historical and geographical accident.
Yes.
It is dictated entirely by where and when we happen to be standing, which honestly completely shatters the romanticized idea of destiny.
It does. It forces us to synthesize a much broader realization. It's not just that our individual day-to-day purposes are constructed, it goes to the very root of human inquiry.
How so?
Think about it. Every major religion, every sprawling philosophical system throughout human history has essentially been trying to answer the exact same question.
Like, why are we here?
Right. Why was this universe created? Why does this earth exist? What is the reason for all of this?
And Sartre just walks into the room, looks at thousands of years of human philosophizing, and answers those monumental questions with no reason.
No reason at all.
Which honestly sounds incredibly bleak at first glance.
It can, yeah.
Like if there is no reason for the universe, no reason for human existence, and all my personal purposes are just made-up coping mechanisms, that sounds like a recipe for total nihilism.
Right, if you stop there.
Yeah, but this framework takes a massive mind-bending turn here. Because Sartre isn't the only one who arrived at this no-reason conclusion.
He really isn't. And this is where existentialism intersects with theoretical physics and Eastern philosophy in a really fascinating way.
Well, this part is wild.
It is. Eastern philosophy has long held a very similar conclusion. There is no inherent structured reason for the manifestation of the universe. But the crucial addition it makes is that this existence isn't a bleak void.
Right.
It's just for fun.
Just for fun. I love that. And to grasp how that could possibly be true, we have to look at the physics of how we perceive the universe. Relativity.
Yes, the physics connection is key here.
The fundamental rules of physics tell us that the speed of light is the absolute unchanging constant in the universe. It is the same for all observers, no matter how fast they are moving.
Which is completely counterintuitive to how we experience things on Earth.
Right. But for that to be true, for light to remain constant, something else has to give.
Yes. Because the speed of light cannot change, space and time themselves have to bend and adjust around the observer to accommodate that constant.
It's unbelievable.
Well, the universe literally warps its own dimensions based on your specific frame of reference.
That is wild to actually think about. The universe is not a static box that you were just walking around inside. Space and time are literally bending around your perception.
Right.
That means there isn't just one objective world out there. There is literally a different world for everyone, and you are the exact mathematical center of yours.
What's fascinating here is that we are using the mechanics of relativity as a metaphor for our existential reality.
Okay.
If the physical laws of the universe adapt to the observer, then philosophically you are not a tiny, insignificant speck in a massive, uncaring machine. You are the focal point.
Right.
You are the architect of your own reality. And this connects perfectly to the ancient Eastern concept of Maya.
Maya, which roughly translates to illusion, right?
Right. The concept of Maya suggests that this manifested world, the physical reality we touch, the societal rules we follow, the ego-driven games we play, is not the ultimate objective existence.
So what is it?
It is essentially a dream. Pure consciousness became this physical manifestation for no reason at all other than the experience of it.
So pure existence was just sitting there, eternal and formless, and decided to create a dream world just to see what it felt like to have a playground.
Exactly. When you view Sartre's void of purpose through the lens of Maya, it changes the entire emotional tone.
Yeah, it really does.
The void isn't a dark, empty room that you're trapped in. It is a blank canvas. It's an empty stage waiting for you to perform.
But hold on. I have to stop you here, because this is where the philosophy hits a brick wall for a lot of people.
Okay, let's hear it.
Wait a minute. You're telling me I chose my sickness, my jealousy, and my stress. If I am the center of my own universe, and this entire physical life is just a dream that my deeper consciousness created for fun on a blank canvas, why does it hurt so much?
That's the big question.
Right. If I am the architect of this dream, why did I build a house with heartbreak and disease and anxiety?
This raises an important question, and it is the ultimate paradox, isn't it? If we are the creators of the dream, why do we suffer in it?
Exactly.
And the answer this framework provides is highly challenging. It posits that we suffer because we choose to.
I'm sorry, but that borders on victim blaming if we don't explain the mechanics of that.
I know, it sounds harsh at first.
Like, you're telling me I consciously choose to feel jealous of my coworker. I choose the stress that keeps me awake at 3 a.m. Why on earth would anyone choose that?
We have to separate the conscious ego from the deeper architect of the dream. You, as the conscious ego playing the video game, don't wake up and say, I think I'll have a miserable Tuesday.
Right, definitely not.
But the deeper consciousness, the architect, chooses these experiences to feel what is described as an intense vibration.
Intense vibration, meaning like friction.
Exactly. Think about a dream where nothing ever goes wrong, where you just float in a white room feeling mildly content.
Sounds good, boring.
It wouldn't feel real. It would be numb. Suffering provides a highly potent sensation. We like to feel that intense vibration because it makes the illusion convincing.
Wow. Okay.
Without contrast, the dream has no texture. We choose happiness for the exact same reason, to feel the vibration of joy. We are consciousness-seeking sensation, and pain is a very, very loud sensation.
But I don't feel like I'm holding a remote control choosing these terrible channels.
Yeah.
You know, when I get sick or when I get angry, it feels like it is happening to me, not by me.
Because the mechanism operating the remote control is running on autopilot. We don't realize we are choosing these reactions because we have not trained ourselves to control our thoughts. Our thoughts just react instantly to the societal programming we absorbed during our youth.
So we're just reacting blindly.
Yes. You are generating the nightmare subconsciously.
How do I prove that to myself, though? How do I actually see the machinery at work?
By observing. Let's use an everyday example. You are driving to work, and someone aggressively cuts you off in traffic.
Oh, I hate that. My blood boils immediately.
Right. Instantly, your heart rate spikes, your grip tightens on the wheel, and you feel a surge of intense anger.
Yeah.
Now, your conscious ego didn't sit there and actively decide, I'm going to deploy anger now. Your autopilot did that.
Right, just a reflex.
But if, in that very moment, you can step back and simply observe the thought, If you can say to yourself, look at this intense vibration of anger my body is experiencing, you separate yourself from the emotion.
I see. I become the watcher of the anger rather than being like completely consumed by the anger.
Precisely. And the moment you observe it, the illusion becomes clear. You realize that the anger is just a texture in the dream.
Right.
You start to see the machinery behind the reaction. And this brings us to the ultimate law of this philosophy. If you can observe the machinery, you can change its programming.
Which circles us all the way back to Sartre's absolute responsibility.
It does, because if this is your dream and you are generating the autopilot responses that cause your suffering, then you are entirely responsible for making the dream however you want.
It's all on you.
Taking absolute responsibility for the dream, even the nightmares, even the traffic jams and the illnesses, is the absolute only way to claim the power to change it.
That makes total sense. Because if I blame the guy in traffic or I blame the universe for my bad luck, I am just giving away all my power.
Exactly.
I am declaring myself a victim of the dream. But if I accept that my deeper consciousness is using this friction to make the dream feel real, I suddenly have the authority to choose a different response.
You reclaim the remote control. Now, it takes time and immense practice to realize this. You won't just wake up tomorrow completely free of autopilot reactions.
Right, it's a practice.
But understanding the mechanism is the first step toward absolute freedom.
It's taking ultimate ownership. Like, you can't just claim to be the architect of the beautiful sunsets in your life. You have to own the bad plumbing in the house you built, too.
Exactly.
But the second you own the bad plumbing, you are the one who gets to fix it.
That is the essence of true liberation.
So what does this all mean? Let's trace this entire journey back for a second. Sure. We start our lives trapped on this societal treadmill, endlessly chasing ego and pride, running a race we are mathematically guaranteed to lose as we age and the metrics change.
Right, the life cycle trap.
Yeah. Then, when the crash happens, we panic. We adopt society's made-up purposes, like the noble provider, just to feel safe, convincing ourselves that our highly specific, geographically accidental lives were our ultimate destiny.
Which they aren't.
Right. But when we are brave enough to strip all that away, we hit the void. We realize there is absolutely no built-in reason for us to be here.
But rather than falling into despair, we recognize the mechanics of our reality.
Right. We realize we are the center of a universe that literally bends space and time to our observation. Life is a blank canvas, a dream we are manifesting just for the sheer experience of it.
Yes.
And by accepting total, unflinching responsibility for the dream, even recognizing that we subconsciously use the intense vibration of our own suffering to make the illusion feel real, we unlock the power to change the channel.
It is a profound evolution of thought, and it leads directly to the final, most liberating directive of this entire philosophical framework.
Which is?
Once you purely understand this law, once you truly grasp your absolute freedom and your absolute responsibility, your only real job is to have fun here in this meaningless life and then leave.
Have fun and leave.
Wow.
It takes literally all the pressure off.
It really does.
But before we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a different angle to mull over. If the intense vibration of suffering is just something you subconsciously chose to make this dream feel real, what happens tomorrow morning if you simply decide you're bored of that channel? If your purpose is entirely made up, what wild, joyful purpose are you going to invent for yourself the second this deep dive ends?